All right, welcome into a Friday. It's the Bills and the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. Sal Capaccio with you. No Matt Bove, but you know what? We got a special guest who knows TV in Buffalo, Shawn Stepner, who used to be at Channel 7 WKBW, where Matt is now the sports director. Now he's at WAMR in Baltimore. Good to talk to you, buddy. How you doing, man?
I'm good. What's up, Sal?
Not much. You know, we're just getting ready for a big game here on Sunday night. We're looking at the weather. We're looking at injuries. We got a lot going on, but a lot going on for you down there. How you liking Baltimore and the scene going on right now with all the sports teams, including, of course, the Orioles, who had, you know, a nice season, although they did fall to my Yankees for the AL East.
I knew you were going to take it there. Yeah, you know, I grew up in Bowie, Maryland, which is more of a suburb of DC, but also close to Baltimore. My wife grew up in Ellicott City, which is now where we live. So we're right by her family. We're right by my family. Of course, you know, I know the area very well growing up here. So yeah, we're loving it. Covering sports teams. Look, I mean, last year the Orioles were the #1 seed in the AL and the Ravens were the #1 seed in the AFC. It was crazy. This year, the Orioles are going back to the playoffs again. Sal, we're not going to be talking about the second half of the season here. We might see you in the AL divisional round. Let's see, but can't say enough about how both franchises have really experienced a lot of winning as of late.
And you also got to cover a Stanley Cup not too long ago as well, which is very cool with Alex Ovechkin winning.
Yeah. You know, at my station, we don't do too much with the DC station or the DC teams. Yeah. But when there's a link, like a Baltimore link, and we have plenty of hockey fans here in Baltimore, believe me, we do cover. I covered the Stanley Cup final for the home games. Of course, I grew up a diehard Capitals fan, so it was awesome back in 2018. But that seems like a lifetime ago. Now the Caps look like they have really revamped their lineup going into this season. Exciting stuff there, as did the Sabres, man. I mean, I'm fascinated with the Sabres and the whole storyline of Lindy coming back. I mean, it's crazy to think that the last time that they were in the playoffs, I was covering that game in 2011 in Philly. I mean, that's a long time ago. And yes, man, I root for Buffalo and Western New York, more so the people than the teams. And I know if the teams have success, the people are happy. And man, I hope the Sabres get back to the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. It's been a long time here and really happy and proud of your success, man, to see you from afar here. And always appreciate you jumping on. And by the way, no more Orioles-Yankees talk, I promise, because I know that the Orioles can do some damage. So I don't want to go down that road. I'm afraid of playing them in the playoffs as a Yankees fan. Let's talk about this game on Sunday night. What are the Ravens doing really well right now, even with a 1-2 record?
Yeah, I think they have found their identity, and it's pretty kind of shocking to say that they found their identity. And I'm going to say it's as a running team. They have Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, and traditionally John Harbaugh likes to run the ball. But after what they did to the Cowboys, I think it's fair to say that they now think that that's really a game plan to win. Now, the question can be said, in this day's football, in this day's NFL, can primarily running the ball and being a run-heavy team get you far? Maybe it can get you to the playoffs, but can it get you far in the playoffs, especially when you're taking on the best of the best? And those teams, like the Bills right now, have a Josh Allen type who can sling it all over the field. If you're behind, can you compete with those teams? That remains to be seen. But from what they did against the Cowboys, getting Derrick Henry involved so much, 151 yards rushing, I think they really have found that they can lean on him now. He's not slowing down. He is a beast. I mean, I know you probably over the years, Sal, have stood next to him or seen him on the field. You know, I know you're on the sidelines. It's surprising. I mean, you know he's a big guy, but when you're standing next to him, like when he had his introductory press conference and, you know, I have a one-on-one with him afterward, you know, I'm not the tallest of guys, but I'm not the shortest either. And you're standing next to a freaking monster.
Yeah.
I don't know how anybody wants to tackle that guy on the field. I think that's where they have to lean. I think that's what they're doing well, especially coming off last week against the Cowboys.
All right. Well, that being said, we'll get to the defensive side, but the injuries are most notably on the offensive line. And that was a question mark coming into the season. What do you know about injuries on the O-line? How is it held up? And what do you expect from that group on Sunday night as far as, who's going to be in and out?
Well, first of all, the offensive line, everybody saw it. That was the weak point of this team heading into the season. They replaced 3 starters. They went young. They went cheap. And that was a decision that Eric DeCosta, the general manager, he admitted that's where he wanted to go with that position group. The first couple of games did not go well. They had major issues. Last game, they started to gel a little bit. Okay. They made a lot of progress, and they are running the ball really well. Pass blocking, another story. But when you're talking about injuries, on Wednesday, 3 starters, Tyler Linderbaum, the biggest at center, he was out. Patrick McCary was out. He's kind of a swing guy, but he's been playing tackle. And Andrew Voorhees, the guard, was out. Linderbaum, McCary, they returned to practice on Thursday. Voorhees did not. So look, I mean, I think all but maybe one of them will play. We'll see what John Harbaugh has to say about it and the status when the injury report comes out on Friday. But to keep an eye on that, if Voorhees doesn't practice on Friday, I mean, I don't think he's playing on Sunday, no matter what John Harbaugh says at his press conference. Traditionally, that's how John Harbaugh has determined it. If you don't go on Friday, you're not playing on Sunday. So if he doesn't go, expect maybe Ben Cleveland, who a couple of weeks ago, John Harbaugh really called out at his press conference after the Raiders game when people were asking about the offensive line and asking where's Ben Cleveland. And he basically said he's not good enough to start. He didn't beat anybody out. Well, if Andrew Voorhees is out and they got to move some pieces around, again, McCary's kind of a swing guy. We'll see where he goes. Maybe Ben Cleveland slides in there and you'll see him. But either way, look, like I said, the offensive line made progress, but is by far, I think, one of the weaker positional groups on this team.
Why has Mark Andrews not been that involved in the offense?
Good question. He was involved in the opener against Kansas City, didn't have the production. He was really nowhere to be found against the Raiders. And against the Cowboys, I think it was more of a game plan thing. I mean, offensive coordinator Todd Monken and Mark Andrews said it himself Thursday in the locker room when we spoke with him. It was a game plan thing. He knew that he wasn't going to be a big part of the Cowboys game. They decided to go run heavy. And look, it worked until it didn't in the fourth quarter. That's another story. But he knows, look, I mean, when he was out, this is what I think. When he was out at the end of last season for all that time after that hip drop tackle against the Cincinnati Bengals, Lamar really found some chemistry with Isaiah Likely. And we all saw what Isaiah Likely, I mean, he was on national display in the opener against the Chiefs, what he can do. Yeah. So he's a good option as well. Look, I think Mark Andrews is still an elite tight end in this league, but now they have options. I mean, Isaiah's a big part. When they go run heavy, they're going to put Patrick Ricard in there and Charlie Kolar, the third tight end. So they're going to go heavier like that. It'll be interesting to see what they do against the Bills. But, Mark Andrews said, my time will come. He just has to be patient.
Okay, let's flip it around. Shawn Stepner, WMAR in Baltimore, joining us here on It's Always Game Day in Buffalo. On the defensive side, they're really stopping the run, but some numbers suggest that haven't been as great against the pass. What's going on there as far as marrying the rush defense and the pass defense?
Yeah, when you say numbers haven't been great, do you mean ranked 32nd in the NFL in pass defense? Oh, yeah, I think that's what you mean.
I do, and I'll give you another one I found, which is interesting. The Bills have allowed the third fewest 20-plus yard plays on the pass. They've only allowed 4 plays of 20 or more yards via the pass. The Ravens are worse in the league. 16 pass plays have gone for 20 or more yards. And you can tell me, I don't know, is that just happenstance and a guy breaks a couple tackles after getting a catch, or is there something going on there?
I think a lot of it is communication. They have a new defensive coordinator, Zach Orr, who former player, former All-Pro, had a health issue and was forced into retirement, spent a few years on coaching staffs, and now he's defensive coordinator. He knows these guys. Everybody speaks glowingly about him, but look, it's his first time calling a defense in the NFL as the guy, as the coordinator. There have been some communication issues, but look, it's funny. I mean, we all thought that the defensive secondary was going to be one of the strong points of this team, and it really hasn't been. It hasn't been. They showed up in the Dallas game. Kyle Hamilton was flying around, his best game of the season, and there's been some communication. I think that's what it's been. And the fourth quarters. I mean, the fourth quarters have just gotten away from the Ravens. I mean, the only reason they won that game against the Cowboys is because the game is 60 minutes and not 65 or 70 minutes. The Cowboys didn't have a couple extra possessions because they gave up, the 19 unanswered, 19-0 over the final. I think it was around 9 minutes, 8:53 or something like that. The week before against the Raiders, not the Cowboys, but the Raiders, they gave up 13 unanswered. I think around the 9-minute mark as well. But those are fourth quarter collapses. It bit them against the Raiders. It didn't against the Cowboys. They have to shore that up. But for Bills fans, I mean, you don't want to go to bed on Sunday night. You don't want to go to bed late because no matter what the score is, if the Ravens are winning, you don't want to go to bed because the way that Josh Allen is playing and that offense is playing right now, a comeback could ensue.
Are they just not getting the quarterback at a good rate either right now? How's that going down the pass rush?
The pass rush looks okay. Everybody's been waiting on Odafe Owe to come on, and he didn't really have the numbers last year, but Jadeveon Clowney last year and Kyle Van Noy last year really got a lot of the numbers. Justin Madubuike, who's changed his name to Nnamdi Madubuike, he had the numbers last year. Everybody was talking about maybe a breakout year for Odafe Owe, and he's really looked good. Kyle Van Noy, I mean, still drinking from the fountain of youth here. He's had a great start to the season as well, the veteran. So they're getting pressures. They're getting to the quarterback. I don't know how they're going to do against Josh because I mean, he's just a monster. You know that. I mean, I don't know how they're going to take him down, and that offensive line is playing pretty well as well. But, yeah, I don't think the pass rush is that much of an issue.
Okay, two quick ones, and I'll let you go here. Number one, Bills played a very heavy man-to-man team last week. Josh ate them up. Doesn't look like that's quite what Baltimore does. A little bit more of a zone team here. I think you can kind of tell me, what do they like to do and how much do they like to blitz?
Yeah, they aren't the traditional blitzing team like they were under Wink Martindale a few years ago. I'll tell you that much. But they'll bring it. They'll bring it, and we'll have to see. What they do against Josh because they know he has the capability of escaping. I mean, right? I mean, so he's a unicorn like that, much like Lamar. I mean, if you bring it, he can get away and really burn you there.
Okay, and then last thing, Justin Tucker from the outside. There's been a lot of talk. We even say, like, man, is this guy, like, is he done? Is he shot? I mean, what's going on there? Is there concern even in Baltimore about Justin Tucker?
There's definitely concern outside of the team facility. I can tell you that much. It's really like what is going on with Justin Tucker. It was one of the stories I did this week. We spoke with him on Wednesday. He did talk about it. He said he's striking the ball well, and if you look at his kicks, the distance is not the issue. And he called it a, quote, technique thing. John Harbaugh on Monday after the game against the Cowboys used that same term, technique. So it's something about how he's going through his motion that has changed. They're voicing support for him. Special teams coordinator Chris Horton said that they believe in him. They trust him. You have to say that you're going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. I mean, he's one of the best kickers of a generation. But it is concerning because, the stat is 1 for 7 from beyond 50 over the last 2 seasons. We just don't see that from Justin Tucker. And on Sunday, he missed from 46 in a dome. The dome, the roof was closed in Dallas. So you don't really see that. If it's in his head, he can't let it continue to get in his head because that's not a place that the Ravens want to be, not trusting Justin Tucker. But they're going to have all the patience in the world with him. But if he continues to miss kicks like this, a lot of more, you got to keep going for maybe some more fourth down tries to convert and keep him on the sideline. But we'll see what John Harbaugh. I think Sunday will tell you a lot, especially if he misses one. I think Sunday will tell you a lot about where John Harbaugh's head is at regarding Tucker.
It's funny. Sounds very similar to what's happening here with Tyler Bass, a much younger kicker, but not the resume, of course, who was very good for the Bills early in his career, but he's had his struggles over the last season and then even a little bit into this season. Shawn, thank you so much for doing this. I'll see you at the game on Sunday. I'll have to drive for the rain. You'll be in the press box. I don't think you have to do that, but I'm sure you still have to do some stuff outside. So make sure you're ready because there's going to be some weather going on there.
Very good. I'll see you on Sunday, Sal.
All right. Thanks a lot. Shawn Stepner, WMAR in Baltimore.